Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of graphing functions and identifying features. This is standard A.3C in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 48 of the 2023 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we've got this graph here of this linear function. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit to make this graph a little bit bigger. There we go. So we are looking for the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And if you take a look at our answer selections, you are going to see that all we have are just a bunch of coordinate pairs. So if we look on our reference materials, we're not necessarily going to find anything about that, unfortunately. So if we scroll down on our reference materials, especially in that linear equation section, because this is the linear equation because we see that straight line on the graph, there's really nothing in there about x-intercepts or y-intercepts. So we need to know what those two terms mean before we come into the STAAR test. But there is probably enough of context within the problem itself to make some educated guesses about what those two terms mean. So when we're thinking about the x-intercept and the y-intercept, what exactly are we talking about? Well, when I'm thinking of this x and this y, right, I see that I've got an x-axis right here, and I see I have a y-axis right here, and they're labeled. Right, so your x-axis is labeled right here, and then that y-axis is just a little bit up there off the screen. It's just that y right there. So if we can correctly say, you know what, these two terms have to do with the x-axis and the y-axis, that's a really good start. And so what do we need to do with the x-axis and the y-axis? Well, the only thing that's really on this graph that we need to pay attention to is going to be the actual line itself. So take a look at this line. If we wanted to, we could, we can write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. If we really needed to, we can even kind of translate that into standard form. We could easily find the slope with just a few points. We would want the points obviously to be integers. We could do all that, but we're not necessarily needing any of that. What we're looking for here is where this line intercepts. So that's going to be our key term if we're not 100% not sure. What does it mean to intercept? Well, it's going to intercept. That means to cross or to encounter. So where does this line cross or encounter the x-axis? Where does it cross or encounter the y-axis? So take a look at my x-axis right here. I'm going to draw a big green point right there. That is where the line crosses the x-axis, which means that is going to be my x-intercept. That's all we're doing here. Trying to find the coordinate pair for the x-intercept and the y-intercept, which means where does that line cross the x-axis and the y-axis? Well, the x-intercept, whenever you have an x-intercept, you should know that the y value is always going to be 0 because the y value is 0 on the x-axis. So that's how you know it's the x-intercept. Really what we're looking for is that -2. Sometimes we will just not even give you the y value. We'll just say the x-intercept equals -2, but the full coordinate pair is -2, 0. Then we need to do the same thing with this y-intercept. We know that the x value has to be 0. That's what makes it the y-axis. And what is my y value is 8. Sometimes we'll just give you the actual y value as the y-intercept. And so taking a look at our answers, we see that our x-intercept is going to be, there you go, my answer is going to be C.